Welcome to the NDIS Property Australia podcast. Before starting this episode, we need to provide a general disclaimer. Information contained in this podcast is general in nature only. It does not take into account the objectives, financial situation, or needs of any particular person. You need to consider your financial situation and needs before making any decisions based on the information in this podcast. And you should consider seeking independent and professional advice for your personal circumstances. All right, let's begin.
Hi, this is Minh from endeavours Property Australia, here with a special guest speaker, David Lowden from Elton Homes. David, welcome today.
G'day, Minh.
Mate, what are you guys all about at Elton Homes there, please?
What we're all about is manufacturing turnkey residential homes inside 60 days.
Wow.
I know, it sounds crazy, right?
How is that possible?
Well, how it's possible is just using efficiency and assembly line thinking, I guess. So we're used to it with things like watching a Toyota Corolla come off the factory line. Well, the house doesn't move, but essentially we have all the trades under one roof and everyone works in unison. So it's applying the same kind of technology and thinking that's been going on since the Industrial Revolution, really, to houses. Now, Germany's been doing this for close to a century, Japan for, I think, about 50 years. A third of houses in the United States are built with manufactured housing. But it's relatively new to Australia. It's not to say that it hasn't been here before, but it certainly hasn't been done at scale. And we think we're the first to do it as a fully turnkey residential product where we're only 150 millimetres off the ground. So we're not a modular housing company, we're a manufactured housing company. The difference is that modular houses are 900 millimetres off the ground. We're 150 millimetres off the ground.
So 150 millimetres, so that means there's no slab then?
No slab, and the house looks, to all intents and purposes, the same as a house built with the traditional method. It's about the same height off the ground. So we can absolutely design homes for people in wheelchairs so they can have flat blocks and access. And as it happens, all of our houses are wheelchair accessible regardless of the design, because we've built it that way, we've designed it that way, so that we think in the future accessibility is going to be something that, perhaps as people reach an older age, it's going to be, they don't want to move home necessarily just because they need more accessible options. So we're doing that and front-loading that now.
So the speed of construction in manufacturing this house in the factory is what kind of time frame?
We're saying on our website within 60 days because we want to be conservative. We're a startup. We don't want to overpromise and underdeliver. Sure. We definitely want to do it the other way around. But the house that you walked through, Minh, we did in 7 days. Now, it's one house on its own. We had a lot of trades working. But to answer your question, we think we'll do them every 14 days initially, but we'll absolutely be doing them, more than one a week once we get all our processes and systems to the point where we have a great level of confidence. So as you're doing something new for the first time, you learn a lot and you work out how to be more efficient. But if you picture a section of a house, if you picture a section of a house being worked on simultaneously with other sections of the house and people not needing to wait for each other, of course things need to be done in sequence, but it's not, he didn't turn up today, we'll have to wait till tomorrow now because we can't do our bit. That just doesn't happen. I'm not necessarily saying that always happens, but it does happen with traditional builds. And what we're able to do is bring all our trades together under the one roof. They all know what project they're working on. They know what's expected in a certain time frame. But I want to stress that there's no loss of quality. Our homes will compare favourably with anything at the higher end of the market. Yeah. They are very well appointed homes and they are turnkey. They're ready to go once they're landed on site.
So just so I'm clear with our listeners, that house we walked into the other day is a 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom, 2-car plus media room, 240 square metre home, built in 7 days in factory and 7-10 days on site. Is that the rough time frame there?
Take off the second time frame, 7 days start to finish.
So for those people who are curious as to know whether it's a small home and a low quality build, that's not the case here.
It's not the case at all. We have to build to the residential code. We have to build to the National Construction Code. So by law, we cannot be going to the market and saying we build residential homes unless they are certified as such. So the quality of the homes, I would argue, are as good, if not better, because they also are 2.7 metre ceilings. When you walk on the floor, there's no movement whatsoever because the base is steel.
Yes.
They have solar. They have EV battery ready. And we have up to, depending on the configuration, up to 8-star energy rating. So they're also green friendly.
Yes. This is an absolutely wonderful product for the market, given the fact that the construction industry is going through massive issues with labour force, timber supplies and supply chains.
All supplies, and the rising cost of supplies. So raw materials are going up. We would get an email once a week from a supplier saying supply costs are going up, you need to order now. Which leads me to say that I think, although we are the first, I suspect everyone will be building their homes like this in the near future. And as I said at the start, other countries have been doing it for a long time. But I think factory-built, manufactured housing to a high standard is going to be how everyone does it because it just makes sense.
Yeah, on the news the last few months, there's been so many shocking stories of first home buyers and families who've been sitting and waiting for their big reputable builder to build their house and then sitting there waiting because there's no workers, no timber, no concrete slabs, no waffle pods, nothing out there to continue with the construction of their house.
And it's unheard of for major contract builders to be offering several $1,000s for people to walk away from their contract.
Yeah.
They don't give money away lightly unless it's actually cheaper for them to do that because they realise that the contracts they entered into, perhaps pre-COVID, fixed price contract, they know they're going to lose money.
Okay.
So it's better for them to offer. Now, we take no joy from that, by the way. We would hope that the industry rationalises itself out and, potentially some players in the industry might need to rethink their processes. It is heartbreaking to see people who have bought a block of land and are waiting and waiting and waiting. And we're not a contract builder for the public.
Yep.
We have been set up to build homes for land developers, and we're not trying to be a competitor, but we may end up supplying homes to those companies who have contracts with their customers.
Yes.
Because of the difficulty in meeting those contracts and trying to honour them. And these are good companies. They're, good people who run these companies. That some of them, I don't want to mention names, but some of the very well-known brands in Australia, some that I've personally transacted with, they are out there doing their best.
Yes. So you are going to start building residential homes. That's great.
We are, yes.
And you're now starting to build NDIS SDA homes in the robust category. So that's what you can do. What don't you do yet?
We don't do apartments. We can do townhouses. We can do dual occupancy. We can do units. We can do common wall. What we don't do at the moment in the NDIS SDA space is HBS. We have a strategic pillar that everything we do, we must do well.
Yes.
We're spending a lot of time working out how do we meet the requirements of the highest level of care and be able to buy the materials and perhaps come up with the designs that healthcare providers want. So we'll do that in a very orderly way, but we will end up manufacturing HBS houses.
So probably Q3, Q4 this year? Later half of the year?
Q4 is probably more realistic.
Okay.
We're already into April, maybe Q3, maybe.
You know what? Even if that's the case, that's still better than going to an alternative SDA builder who takes a year to build anyway.
Yes. No, that's true. And I have a friend who is at the coalface, an occupational therapist who's at the coalface of trying to improve the lives of some of these participants. And if we can build, multiple houses in the speed that we can and increase the supply, people's lives change. They literally change within a month.
So Elton Homes is okay for robust and the improvability category for the designs.
Yes.
And the later half of the year will be the fully accessible and HPS category design homes.
That's it.
Okay, cool. Wonderful. So what are the biggest So we've heard the positives and the advantages. Are there any negatives or disadvantages that are on your side of the fence, being a manufactured housing organisation?
No, there's not a. We think it's a really good idea, actually. I mean, I don't want to sound too boastful, but there's not too many negatives to it. We don't have weather issues. Our trades coexist under the same roof as us. We've managed to form very good relationships with key suppliers.
Yeah.
And we're backed by a very successful businessman who in turn runs a property development business and a venture capital business. Mm-hmm. So we have financial security. So there aren't too many disadvantages. I guess from the customer, the everyday Australian, we're not in a position to contract build and to give you, a great deal of choice. Our purpose is to partner with those who are helping meet the needs of Australians who want housing.
Yeah.
And there is a massive, as you know, Minh, there's a massive gap between demand and supply, 10 years worth in Australia in standard residential and even more so in NDIS. So we want to be a standard residential house manufacturer, but NDIS is a space that we can also operate in because although it does require a little more work on our part, we think it's a good thing to do. And our purpose is to help provide housing to those who really need it.
Yeah. So just to clarify the jargon, the build jargon, when you say contract builder, you mean custom builder, is that right?
Yes, indeed. Yes. So a contract builder is someone who, and a lot of people have done this, that you go to a display home, you look at, I like that. Then you maybe sit in the garage or in some other display suite and you pick out coloured tiles and, the coloured bricks, and you get a lot of say in how you want your home to look. You might be able to move walls.
Yes.
You might be able to change the size of a room. You can add another room on because you've got a bigger block. So if there is a limitation, and it's only a minor one for us because our sections, our chassis of steel are very big and we have a great deal of flexibility, but the model of this business is set up to be a volume house manufacturer and provide for people who have got a large amount of land or want multiple homes, or in the NDIS space, healthcare providers who are looking to fill the needs of participants in the NDIS.
So with the factory being based in Melbourne, are there any limitations to transporting within Victoria?
Well, we haven't tried Mildura yet, but we're pretty confident we can transport 500 kilometres.
Okay.
We've done some test runs, not a crack, not even a hairline fracture in the plaster. So we're confident about both the transport company we use, and they've got airbag technology to make sure that the house is lifted up and transported smoothly.
Yes.
We can transport via ship. So potentially we can go to Tasmania.
Yes.
Going to based in Melbourne and going to somewhere like Sydney. Now the Humes are very flat road, and I'd be interested. Maybe we could do it, but there are permits and things that are required when you're transporting large sections like that. So ultimately, we hope that we will have a factory at least down the eastern seaboard, in Queensland, New South Wales, and Victoria, perhaps South Australia if the demand's there. So watch this space.
So speaking of Tasmania, what's happening next in that area for Elton Homes?
Tasmania is it's a very interesting area for us because it has its challenges in terms of being an island, but
needs a lot of help.
Yeah. I've seen your statistic that which
only
comes
two
from the
houses.
government website, but only two.
Only 2 SDA houses are in Tasmania. Yes.
That's extraordinary, isn't it?
Yeah. What is the population of Tasmania, by the way?
About 500,000.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So, it's a smaller place than Melbourne and Sydney, but it's stunningly beautiful for one, but two, the demand, the gap between supply and demand is as big as it is anywhere, probably bigger. So in standard residential and NDIS, NDIS to have only 2 properties, that does speak to the challenges of what's required to build to the NDIS spec, but we're up for it.
Good. So one last question, David. What's the big grand plan for Elton around Australia?
We would like to be a company that firstly is respected and can be relied upon, but has a national footprint. So the grand plan is genuinely to contribute to and help those who are trying to close the gap between supply and demand, because we know that when people have a home of their own, they contribute more to society as well. It's actually, It has multiple benefits. So we think there's a great opportunity for this business to expand. But if you ask me what the dream is, or the grand plan is to be in every state and to supply fabulous housing so that people don't have to wait for their dream. They buy a block, they know that they can get a house on it in a month, maybe.
Yes.
That would be, seriously, how good is that? Like you find the block you want, you've met the person you want to live with for the rest of your life, and you can have the dream home in a month. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that is perfect. Given the way the market is, with how hot the market is, and people want to get into the market and they can't wait a year and a half to build a house, and the risk of lending changes and building construction companies going under, people want it now. And the same thing applies to NDIS, the participants. They don't want to wait a year and a half for a robust house or a HBS house. They want to move today because they are stuck in nursing homes and hospitals and aged care. Yeah, they need out and they can't wait. And the biggest risk,
nor should they wait. They've got challenges enough.
Yeah,
and the NDIS has been. It's a great thing. We're a collective society, and by and large, Australians have accepted that some of their taxes should go towards helping people who need a bit of extra help.
Yes.
So why should they wait?
Yes. And particularly in the last 2 years, investors who are going into the SDA market are waiting a year and a half to build their house. There's no guarantee that participant who is waiting will be at the end of the journey ready to move in, because they would have moved on to another house, passed away, or relocated somewhere in a different region. So there's no, speed to market is the key for the NDIS participants, being the SDA funded people. Speed to market is key for the investors to get their product out of the ground as quickly as possible. And funny enough, coincidentally, your product is speed to market. So I think that's where your point of difference, being Elton Homes as a business and a brand, is going to make a huge impact in the SDA community. And we really congratulate your team in being one of the first manufactured housing companies in Australia who are playing in the NDIS field for construction.
Thanks, Minh.
David, thanks for your time. Thanks for coming in today for that seminar here at 500 Collins Street. The attendees of the seminar were really appreciative of your segment as well. And I hope that we can do some more of these presentations to other groups and companies who have interested investors and clients who want to learn more about what we can deliver to them as a bespoke service and product.
Delighted to be involved. Thanks for having us.
Bye-bye.
We hope you enjoyed this episode. Please make sure that you are subscribed and following us so that you can keep in the loop with all of our upcoming episodes. We would really appreciate it if you could leave us a 5-star rating, a written review, and to share this episode with those that can benefit. Until next time, catch you on the next episode.